Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about the film Sorrow Even Up in Heaven, which is a South Korean film produced in 1965. It shows a family that lived in extreme poverty. It was a father and 4 children. The wife, who was the mother of all children, she was very maltreated by her husband and she left home because she couldn't bear any longer. And when I'm talking about poverty, I'm talking about serious poverty. The father, he was sick, but he also engaged in gambling. He maltreated his 4 children a lot. And he didn't make any effort for his family. He was sick, but he could at least be more gentle with his children to try to keep the family together, not curse their children. And if he was gentler, probably his wife wouldn't need to run away from home. And the children, they were either beggars or they sold gun on the streets. And we can see that the eldest of the children, he tried to take care of his siblings. He tried to provide for the family. Even though he was around 10 years old, he was only a child. And he suffered lots of maltreatment, violence, and people who didn't help him. And the film shows that in an extremely naturalistic way. So even though it's a film, we get shocked for the children. We worry about them, even though they are only actors in the film, because it's very touching. At school, the other children, they had a slightly better life condition, and they looked down on the boy because of his ragged clothing, because he was too poor. However, one girl in the class who was middle class and she lived in a nice house, she tried to help the boy. She gave food to him sometimes. And she was the only one for a long time who helped the boy. She felt sorry for his condition. However, someday, one of the teachers, he knew that the boy, that he kept a diary and that he delivered the diary to the teacher. And this teacher, he wasn't the boy's teacher, but he knew about his story. Then he talked to the boy's teacher and asked her if he could see the boy's diary. And he found out that his diary was very heartbreaking. He described in details the hardships of his life, always as if he was having a conversation with his mother. The children missed the mother very much. And then this teacher who took a look at the diary, he asked for a friend of him to try to publish this diary because his history was very sad, but it was also the story of many poor children in Korea, and that people had to know about this story. Meanwhile, the boy begged on the streets and he was robbed of his money. He tried to work with shoe shining, but his box was stolen by other boys who were much older than him. He was maltreated by his father. The children of the neighborhood called him names, told him that he was a beggar, hit him. And someday, this eldest boy of the 4 children, the father was away for some weeks to try to find a job. And then one of the sisters, She bought a big bottle of shoyu sauce, but when she was arriving home, she fell on the floor and the bottle was broken. And then, of course, the eldest brother, he was very angry with his sister for being so clumsy, and he was very harsh on her. And then the girl got very sad and she left home. She disappeared. And then she said that she would go away in a letter. She left a letter, and that she would only return after making lots of money. And then the eldest boy, he felt very guilty out of that. And the father, he kept gambling and gambling. Okay, he was sick, he couldn't work, but he was healthy enough to go gambling instead of putting more effort to try to find a job. So it was a really, really tragic situation. And then the boy, someday he earned some money and he gave that to another beggar, who was an elderly lady who looked very sick. He told that to his father, and the father beat him very harshly. And then he got one of his sisters, and they both jumped into a train, and they ended up in Seoul, very distant from home. And then the boy tried to find some food for him and his sister, and then he was kidnapped by a gang. We don't know why, but he was beaten, he was stripped naked. It was horrible to see that. But meanwhile, exactly when the boy lost heart and left home, his diary was finally published, and then he became a celebrity. But the boy wasn't aware of that because he disappeared. He left home with his sister because he wanted to find the other sister who had previously left home. So it was lots of heartbreaking and suffering at home. Then, after he was kidnapped and got to escape from the gang, he got to reunite with his sister, the one who was in the train with him. Then he realized that he became a celebrity. That professor who arranged for the publication of the diary, he went to Seoul, he found the boy, and then they returned to their home city by airplane. And then he became a national celebrity, and we can see that he got to overcome poverty. The other siblings told him that there was lots of rice at home, that they wouldn't need to beg anymore. And we have an indication that maybe his mother returned. It's not too clear what happened to the other sister who disappeared in the beginning of the film. But we can see that the family was finally together and in a better situation, not only financially, but they were also united again. And this film, because it's very naturalistic, the scenery, the acting and everything, we really feel the suffering of those children. It has a very high emotional impact. When the teacher starts talking about other children in the same situation, that they were supposed to help children in that situation because it was an absurd to leave children live in so much poverty, and that it was important to build a better country. And the plot of this film is really, really timeless, because there are children poor like that everywhere on earth in any time of history. So the film is as fresh today as it was in the 1960s. And it's very, very touching, and we can see that they make it clear in the film that not every children were as lucky as this boy, because he became a celebrity, he got money with his diary, and he eventually overcame the poverty. But other children wouldn't be as lucky, and if they aren't helped, there would be no hope for them. And it's an educative film. We feel much more empathy for those who need